Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I would like to talk to you about the MA Confluence strategy. This is part of the Profit Percent series. To understand all the common settings of Profit Percent, I'll link a video in the description box below. It will show you how all the stop loss, take profit, these lines are generated and how percentages are calculated. This video will only focus on the MA Confluence strategy. So let's get started. Now what exactly is Confluence? It is when you combine multiple strategies into one complete strategy, and when a bunch of indicators, they all show that a signal, a possible buy or a sell has occurred, and all the other indicators in that strategy, they validate it, then that makes the buy or sell signal that much more likely. So in this MA Confluence strategy, we use one main indicator which will generate the actual buy or sell signal, and all of these other indicators, these are used as validating indicators which will validate that buy or sell arrow. Let me just go over the settings. Right, all of these settings are described in the common video which I talked about. The link will be in the description, and all of these settings from select SLTP this onwards, these are for stop loss, take profit generation, and everything below that is for alerts or for this stats panel, and all of these are in that common video. Let's talk about the EMA strategy that we have. So these are all possible main signals that you can use to generate the buy and sell arrows: MA cross, OBV cross, and Heiken Ashi cross. Let me go over my website. My website also contains the Profit Percent series common settings. This post, I'll also add this link in the description so you can understand how the SLTP works. And let's go over the EMA Confluence strategy. So as we talked about the MA cross, that is the first main signal that you can use. You can either use the built-in MA that comes with MetaTrader, or you can use Hull MA. And for a buy signal, it will check when fast MA crosses slow MA upwards. For sell signal, it will check when fast MA crosses slow MA downwards. Going back, right here, these lines, this pink line, this is the fast MA, and this is moving average 10, and this blue line, this is moving average 20, and this is slow MA. And whenever this cross happens, let me set everything to false so we can just focus on moving average alone. If we have only moving average, then you will get a lot of arrow signals because this cross happens quite a few times right here. And if you want a slower moving average, like if you are scalping, maybe keep 10 and 20, and if you are trading longer term, then maybe keep moving average to something higher like 50. Going back, so every time when a moving average fast MA crosses upwards, you get a buy. Fast MA crosses slow MA downwards, you get a sell. The next signal that we have is OBV cross. Let me set this to false and this to true. With OBV cross, right here, this is OBV, and this green dotted line, this is the moving average for past OBV values. And whenever OBV crosses this moving average upwards, it is a buy signal. When OBV crosses moving average downwards, it is a sell signal, like right here. And you can also specify a minimum distance between the moving average and the OBV line. OBV is on balance volume, and right here, these are the MA settings that we talked about: fast, slow. You can set the MA type to simple, exponential, smooth, or linear weighted, and you can also select the applied price. And all of these settings are true and false are clumped together up here, so that they are easily turned on and off. And min OBV distance, if you want to have multiple, like these common settings, all of these are also used in dashboard, and in dashboard you can select multiple time frames. So if you want to set these values, you can select the time frame is equal to and that OBV minimum distance value. And if for all the time frames you want the same value, like say 10,000, then you can just specify that. I'll leave this to all of this, because sometimes even with arrows indicator you might want to use a common template, and you wouldn't want to have to specify this value for each and every chart. So this comes in handy. And OBV applied price and MA period, this is the past 100 OBV values for the past 100 bars, and based on that this MA is calculated, and MA method is exponential. And as you can see, when we selected just MA, we were getting a very low percentage. Let me set, because there were way too many up and down arrow signals. But with OBV, these signals are much more refined, and you get fewer arrows and you get a better percentage. But OBV alone also gives way too many arrows. Let's also try Heiken. If Heiken is used as a main signal, then it will check for the Heiken cross. When the cross happens, when price is moving downwards, and right here in the middle a cross happens, you can barely see it, and then it crosses back to red, and right here it crosses to blue, and over here again to red. And with Heiken Ashi alone you will also get less percentage, which is why the validating indicators are very useful. Now you can only have one main signal which will create the buy and sell signal at first, and everything else will be used as validating signal. So if you have this to true, and if you have all of these to true, then MA cross will be used as main. This is priority 1, this is priority 2, and this is priority 3. So MA cross will be used as the main signal, and these two will be used as validating signals. Let me show you the difference, how it works. So if OBV cross is used as main signal, then it will check for OBV cross. The OBV crosses OBV MA upwards or OBV crosses it downwards. But if it's only used for validation, then OBV will only check whether the line OBV line is below the MA line, then it will be considered as buy, at least the minimum distance that we had talked about, that we can set it to 10,000 as then this will be used for all time frames, or we can set individual time frames. And for SELL it will check that OBV should be at least that minimum distance below the OBV MA. So that's the difference between main and validation. Main will always check for a cross, and validation will only check where the current OBV is, because it's very rare for, like, when a moving average crosses, at the same time the OBV cross won't necessarily be there. And same way, if MA cross is false and OBV cross is also false, only then the Heiken Ashi will be used as a main signal, otherwise it will be used as validation. And if it's used as main, it will check for Heiken. When it crosses from bearish to bullish, it will be considered buy. When it crosses from bullish to bearish, it will be considered as a sell. And if it's only used as a validation, then it will only check if Heiken is blue for bullish or red for bearish. And these signals, these are only used for validation. These won't be used for main signal. So if you have ADX set to true, it will check this ADX line. This purple line, that is the ADX main signal. This blue line, that is the ADX plus DI signal, and this orange line, that is the minus DI signal. So for validation, if a buy arrow has happened and if ADX is also set to true, then it will check that ADX is at least a minimum threshold level that you can set over here. Right now we have set it at 25. If you set this at 65, then it will check that ADX is at least that level, and it will give you fewer signals but more accurate signals. So let me go back, and right now we have Heiken to true and we are getting very low percentages, and setting ADX to true. And right now I have set the ADX threshold to quite high. So as you can see, the percent has improved and we are getting fewer signals now. So for ADX, for a downward trend, it will check the ADX is at least above that threshold, and the minus DI value, that is above the plus DI value for a downward trend. And for an upward trend, it will check that ADX is above threshold and plus DI is greater than the minus DI line. Only then it will validate that signal. Sorry, I accidentally only then it will validate the signal, or else it that buy or the sell signal will be ignored. So coming back, the best setting that I have found for higher time frame is for at least like M30 H1 time frames. It is to set the OBV cross to true, and right now we talked about ADX. So if we take a look at the percent values, we get very few signals. For the past 1000 bars, we only get 3 signals, but all of those are very good signals because I've set a very high threshold in ADX. Let me set this back to 25. With 25 you will get a lot more signals right here, but some signals will be false. Like right here it is giving a downward arrow because if you check this right here, OBV has crossed downwards, and at this arrow the ADX is above the threshold value that we set this 25, and right here the ADX minus DI is above plus. And as you can see that even though this happened for just like a few bars, but it will still have that effect. And if you increase this OBV min distance, right now for H1 we have the OBV min distance to 10,000, and you can set this to even higher, and that will give you fewer signals, and those signals will be more accurate. Let's move on to the next one. We have SuperTrend. This right here is SuperTrend indicator. The orange lines, these indicate bearish, and these blue lines, these indicate bullish. So right here these are the SuperTrend settings, and if you do not want to check for the current time frame, if you want to check SuperTrend for higher time frame, like if you are trading H1 and you want to check for H4, then you can always set this to whatever time frame you want. And let me set SuperTrend to true. With SuperTrend and OBV we get slightly better values compared to just ADX. And if we use this Parabolic SAR, let me set this to false and this to true and press OK. So Parabolic gives lower percent compared to SuperTrend. And going back, let me set both of these to true and just OBV as the main signal. Press OK, and right here we get slightly better than just the Parabolic. So you can experiment with multiple signals. Let me just set this to false and show you how Parabolic buy and sell will happen. So with Parabolic, for a buy signal, these blue dots, they have to be under the price, and for sell signal, these blue dots, they have to be above the price. That's when a sell signal will be valid. And finally we have check EMA aligned for higher time frames. If this is true, then you can check these settings, number of current and higher time frames for EMA check. So it will use these EMA settings and it will check the current time frame, so H1 and 2 higher time frames, so H1, H4 and D1. It will check these time frames and it will see that okay, we have a sell signal, and are the higher time frames also currently aligned with the sell signal. And you can set the moving average period here, and let me set everything else to false and just EMA alone. That gives you the best signals but very few signals, like only 6 signals over the past 1000 bars. So with these validation signals you can experiment, like if you are trading scalping, you want to use ADX. ADX will be very good with that because it shows you the immediate, the immediate trend. And if you are trading longer term, then something like OBV cross. OBV cross is sometimes slightly delayed compared to the EMA cross, and you can experiment with this, but OBV cross is much more accurate than just the MA cross, because MA crosses several times and OBV cross only happens when the signal is much more accurate. So based on your style of trading, you can set all of these to on and off. And let me just quickly go over the dashboard settings as well. The dashboard will use exactly the same settings as we have for the arrows indicator, and dashboard will also indicate the let me show you the settings. So right here, all of these dashboard settings, they are in that common profit percent video, and from here onwards, Confluence settings, it will, and this is also an important setting, wait bars for Confluence. So once a buy or a sell signal occurs, it will wait for 5 bars for all the validating indicators to also be in the same direction. Like a sell signal, right now we have OBV, and suppose if we had Heiken and Heiken switches over here, then it will wait for 5 bars for ADX and SuperTrend and whatever you select, for all of those to be aligned. And if you're trading longer term, then, and if you want more bars, then you can set that to 10. Then it will check for the 10 bars for Confluence. That setting, wait bars for Confluence, that is in both arrows and dashboard. And right here you can select we have OBV and Heiken. So OBV will be used as the main signal, Heiken will be used as validation, and we have SuperTrend and Parabolic, so these are also true. And right here you have O, which stands for OBV, H stands for Heiken, S is SuperTrend, and P is Parabolic. So for this one, it is showing that all of these are green. And if I select, suppose if I want check EMA, if I have everything turned on, but I wouldn't suggest that you have too many signals turned on, because if you're trading multiple time frames, then it will take a much longer time for the dashboard to load. This is just for illustration, so you can see what all the letters mean. On an individual chart, SuperTrend can take about 2 seconds. MA cross and all of that can take less than 1 second. So even if a single time frame for a single pair takes 5 seconds, and if you have 28 pairs, then that will take up a lot of time. So right now we only have 7 pairs, so it is loading much quicker. As you can see, MC, M means that the MA cross has happened, and if you had OBV cross as main, then you would have seen OC if OBV cross happens. and everything else after the dash, these are all validation indicators. So it is saying that OBV is currently showing bearish and Heiken is currently showing bullish, and everything else, ADX, SuperTrend, Parabolic and EMA, everything else is currently showing bearish. And this, the first one will show you take profit 1, the second one will show you take profit 2, and finally this last one, it will show you the total number of signals that have happened for dollar yen for H1 period. And right now we just got a down arrow with this signal. So the bracket will show you how many past bars that arrow had occurred. And right here, as you saw in the alerts, you will also get the take profit percentages. Like right now we have 60-40, so you will also see that in the alerts. And you can set a search bars back for arrows. Right now we have it at 3, so in the bracket, as the bars progress, it will show you that okay, this signal had happened 1 bar back, 2 or 3 bars back. If you keep this to a higher value, like say 10, then it will have to check the previous 10 bars. So I wouldn't suggest that you keep this to like a really high value, 20 or something, because that will once again make the dashboard load slower. And as soon as a signal occurs, you usually want to trade it within 1 or 2 bars if the take profit percentages are high. Like right now, these 60-40, these are really low percentages, so I wouldn't recommend that you trade a sell signal, because Heiken is still green and everything else is showing the bullish confluence. So we can study the chart further and decide whether to take this sell signal or not. And as we talked, all of these are confluence settings, and we can set the take profit threshold. We have it at 80, so it will highlight everything that's above 80%, that will be highlighted as green, and everything below it will stay white, so that it's easier for you to recognize that okay, this particular pair is doing very well and this particular pair has 100 out of 100, like both take profit 1 and take profit 2. And I already explained all of these settings. This is very useful in the dashboard, so that you can set all of the time frames and all of the minimum OBV distances right here. And all of these take profit and stop loss calculations, once again, they are in that other video. So I think that's pretty much it for the MA Confluence strategy. The arrows indicator is a paid indicator on the MetaTrader website, and this dashboard indicator, it is freely available for those of you who decide to buy the arrows. And even if you don't want to buy the arrow indicator, you can always use the dashboard indicator. It does not need the arrows to function. It will use the arrows internally, so it will still work without that one. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy using this. Please leave me any doubts or any suggestions in the comments below, and I'll definitely write back to you. Thank you so much for watching.